उपविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्.
The life means activity. Life is action. Even if you sit tight, not doing anything outer, also it is an action. Sitting without doing anything is also an action. There cannot be a life without any activity. And when your body is sitting motionless, the mind may go on doing all the activities. Breathing also is there. There cannot be life without activity. So life means karma. It is activity. Now, what Bhagavad Gita proposes is that you make all the action, convert them, transform them into yajna. So, you cannot transform them into the Vedic yajna because you are not doing Havana. Those days, that was the main action of the people who were given to studies Vedic culture. They were doing jaga and jajja only. They were not involved in fighting. Kshatriyas were doing the fighting. The kings were ruling. But the jajja, yaga, jajja, etc. was the work of the brahmanas. So for the shastras were for them also. But nowadays nobody is performing any jajja. So if we consider the jajja to be the havana only, those ritualistic jajja, then Bhagavad Gita becomes not applicable now. So Krishna has made the yajna, the concept of yajna from that ritualistic yajna, he has elevated it to an universal concept of yajna. It will remain valid for any length of time, any time, as well as any place in the world, even an American or an European or an Australian and an Australian. This yajna concept is applicable. Because whenever anybody is doing anything without desire, desirelessly, that action is becoming yajna. You can say without desire, you can say without raga dvesha, that is preference and prejudice. You can say surrender. You can say as an offering to the Lord or to the truth. All are same, practically. Basically, it boils down to, if you say offering, you may say I am offering to the Lord, but you may have some phalabhisandhi in your mind that by that this will happen, my son will get a better job. So you are saying I am doing it as offering, but really it is not so. So when we think of the applicability of Bhagavad Gita, we only have to relate with raga, dvesha and desire, that whether I am doing it desirelessly or not, because it has to be done for I am doing. It is not with anything that I will gain out of it except purity of the mind. That gain is okay. Even if you think that I am doing punya, suppose some people even do seva for a Mahatma, for a saint or a sannyasin, they do seva with the idea that it is a punya karma. They go and listen to Ramayana or Ramayana or Bhagavatam Katha also. You will find lakhs and lakhs of people go. If you inquire from them, you will find most of them go as a punya karma. Because they think that by doing this punya, my next life will be saved, or this will happen, or that will happen. So it is desireful. The desire for punya also is a desire. In Bhagavatam, it is said that for a spiritual person, papa and punya both are papa. Why? Whatever constricts our mind, whatever makes our mind centered on our ego is papa. Because what is the purpose of spirituality? Is to make our identity universal. I think I am small, I am constrained by this body-mind personality. That is our basic standpoint. From there we have to go to a level when I am universal. It is that I is not fragmented by the body, mind, personality. So whatever constricts our mind is against the spiritual goal. So that is considered to be papa. So the normal moral papa and punya, both will constrict mind. So both are papas. Only when we do with the idea of surrender, free of raga dvesha, free of desires, then it becomes real punya. That it expands our mind, it takes us to the final goal. This action, the life is activity, the life is action. Those actions, everything has to be converted or transformed into yajna. Into yajna means they should be free of desires. That I should not think that by doing this, this will happen, that will happen, and that will make me happy. If that does not happen, I will be afraid of losing my happiness or facing something which I do not like. These are all desires. So when we take away that, then it becomes yajna, an offering to the Lord. Simply I said that Ramana Maharshi's couplet, Ishvara arpitam nechaya kritam. What becomes offered to the Ishvara, to the God? Whatever is done without desire. Nechaya na ichaya kritam. Which I am not doing out of desire motivation. Normally we do everything motivated by desire. But through spirituality we come to know that the desires are redundant. We think that by fulfillment of the desire I will be happy. We don't think that nobody, nowhere, no time, anybody has become happy permanently happy by fulfillment of any desire. The richest person in the world, the most famous person in the world, the most powerful person in the world, are they happy? But we think that by getting in these puny things also I will become happy. But we don't. We are happy till another desire or another fear or another anxiety takes over our mind. So when we go deep into our mind, we discover that happiness is the natural parameter of our soul. It is always oozing. But we are not able to experience that happiness because our mind is agitated. Mind is always taken over by desires, their fulfillment, non-fulfillment, anxiousness, anxiety, fear, all these things. So we are not able to sense that ananda which is always, our Upanishad says, anandadhyeva khalvimani bhutani jayante, anandena jatani jivanti, anandam pravishanti, avisamvishanti. Taittiriya. The whole universe is born of ananda. The creation is born of the ananda. And it is living in ananda. And when it is destruction, mrityu, death, then also it is going into ananda. It is getting completely dissolved into ananda. There is nothing other than ananda at all. The whole creation is just like a simmering ananda having different forms going around. So we don't look for ananda specially from anything outside. We understand that it is our self-property. When the mind becomes peaceful, we are able to feel that. So it is that desire. Why are we getting a little ananda when the desire is fulfilled? Because for a small time, other desires are not occupying our mind. When a desire is fulfilled, for a certain time, the mind remains free of other desires. Suppose it is an intense desire, then the joy also will be intense. Intense desire for something, then to fulfill that you will forget your food, you will forget your shelter, many things you will forget, is it not? We take to all the sufferings to fulfill that intense desire. That means all chota desires, all small desires, they are eliminated by that intense desire. So when the intense desire is fulfilled, then what happens? For some time there is absolutely no desire. So you come to know the ananda of the soul more at that time. And maybe for a little more time also. Till again other things come over. So it is really by spiritual understanding, investigation and discovery, what we discover is it is not the fulfillment of the desire that makes us happy or joyous. It is the elimination of the desire. So for elimination of the desire, do we have to work and have a small fulfillment and eliminate and eliminate and eliminate? Throughout the life we are eliminating desires, is it not so? You are saying we are fulfilling our desires. Desire for playing, desire for standing first in the rank, or desire for marriage, desire for children, desire for grandchildren, desire for their job, desire for retirement, desire for re-employment. All these things we are desiring and fulfilling, desiring and fulfilling. That means actually we are desiring and eliminating the desire. You eliminate the desire right in the beginning and you will be fulfilled. Then do whatever you do, in that case you do not looking for joy at the end of the work, but you do out of joy. Is it clear? Because you are already joyous. So whatever you are doing out of joy. Because everything is Ananda and you are doing out of that only. The whole creation is out of joy. That is how God has created like this. Out of joy God has created this universe. It is God has not desired to create the universe. It is just come out of the joy. So the actions are joy of living. It will become joy of living. Everything you do will be out of joy, not for attaining joy at the end. So actually what happens is that desires become redundant. Redundant, you understand? Meaningless, unnecessary. Because already you are having joy and you don't have to collect more joy from the external world. You do it, whatever good, bad, everything happens, you take it. What? Dr. Priya is not accepting, no? So, first thing is that understanding that life means activity and not to go into samadhi or trance. Samadhi is necessary. We are not saying that samadhi is not necessary. What do we do in samadhi? We come away from all activities, mental thoughts, everything, and we come to know what is our self. It is a first-hand discovery of our real identity. For that discovery, samadhi is necessary. But the next step is to come out of the samadhi, and whatever we have known in samadhi or in meditation, whatever we have known as the self or Brahman or whatever you may say, to know that in everything, that the whole universe is appearing in that. Whatever I have known as my Atma, the whole universe is only an appearance in that Atma. So we cannot miss Atma anywhere at all. So will you again go into the samadhi? When all the world, everything has become Atma, do you have to go to samadhi to know Atma again? So as an initial step of discovery, it might be necessary. But when you have established the Atma or the soul or the God everywhere, then you don't need. From the applicational point of view, from the practical point of view, another way of thinking is there. Suppose in meditation you get lot of joy and peace. Is it not? That is why you meditate. Maybe once only you got in meditation, every day you try, you don't get, and you get frustrated also. All these things happen. But the fact is that you are looking for joy or peace in meditation. That means you are not satisfied with your mind. The natural wakeful state of the mind you are not satisfied with. When you become thoughtless, you are satisfied. But with the thoughts, you are not satisfied. Because your thoughts are stressful. They are all desire-oriented. They are all phala bhavana, phalabhisandhi oriented. That those thoughts are not keeping you peaceful. They are creating stress in you. So the best process is to change the mindset. Make the mind generate only good thoughts, noble thoughts, expanding thoughts, loving thoughts, sympathetic thoughts, that you are full of joy. When the thoughts are good and you are enjoying your mind, will you like to become without mind in samadhi? Samadhi means there is no mind. When you are happy with your mind, will you like to go to a zero state where the mind is not there? You will be happy with your mind. Whether it is zero, non-zero, everywhere you will be happy. You will not particularly look. Is it meaningful or not? So it has to be done. So the better method is to change our thought. Why did I say this? It is related to the shloka we are there. I said life is activity. Our purpose is to transform our activities into jajna by incorporating the attitude of surrender, attitude of asakti, that is without any sangha, all these things. Now after that you add to that the dana, jajja dana tapas, add dana. Why? Because dana by itself will produce maitri bhava in you. Maitri, you understand? Friendship, fraternity. Maitri is a very important virtue. All this दुनिया में सबको ही सबको छेड़ते हैं अभी ना. Maitri is the most important. That is why in the United Nations our Shankaracharya had composed the famous song Maitrim Bhajata Akhila Hridjetri. You don't know that? It was sung in the United Nations. The Maitrim Bhajata Akhila Hridjetri. That means Maitri wins over the heart of everybody in the whole world. Maitri is extremely important. So dana, this dana satra we organize only to generate maitri bhava in the people. It is, what is the support we are giving? One blanket. उससे क्या होगा? एक फैमिली को एक ब्लैंकेट दे रहा है, वो बहुत बड़ा दे रहा है. 2 लड्डू. अरे उनके घर में 7-8 बच्चे हैं, 2 लड्डू से वो लोग क्या करेंगे? कम से कम उसको छोटा छोटा बना के 8 बनाइए. It is nothing. The material part is nothing. What is being done is that support is coming from all over the world. And those who are responding to our letter and all, it is they in their mind, Maitri Bhava is generated. So the dana, the purpose of dana is to generate Maitri in the world, the friendship, fraternity in the world. What does it mean? It means a forceful expansion of our mind and heart. Normally we will not expand, we will remain constrained. इवन किसी को देना भी तो है, हम 5 बार सोचेंगे वो जाके दारू पी लेगा, वो पूरा खर्चा नहीं करेगा, उनको देंगे नहीं. अरे तुम दो ना, वो तो ऐसे भी दारू पिएगा, वैसे भी दारू पिएगा. उतना सोचने से क्या है? दारू पी के उनको आनंद होता है तो थोड़ा उसको आनंद दो, ज़्यादा नहीं देना कि उसका खराब कुछ नहीं होना चाहिए, रोड पे एक्सीडेंट नहीं होना चाहिए. बता दो उसको घर में जाके पीना है, यहाँ मत पियो. So such a mind, the constricted mind has to be expanded. So the dana forces us to expand the mind. So add dana element in your action, not only jajna, with the jajna, automatically dana will be added, because jajna bhava will generate such an universal maitri in your mind that dana will come in. But as a practice, jajna dana tapa for the society, he is saying, the dana element will generate the expansion of the heart. Then you add to that the tapaha. Because by tapas, what happens is that we generate more and more Atma Shakti, self-power. Because normally we are all slave to the objective. खाना है, खाना है, खाना का बचपन से ही slave बन जाते हैं. We become slave to food because of our great fondness of our mother and mother is more, not father so much. ओ हमारा ग्रैंड चाइल्ड ना ये मिठाई छोड़ के खा नहीं सकता है, ये बनाना ही है, क्योंकि वो ग्रैंड मदर बनाती है ना, इसीलिए वो मिठाई के लिए उतना नहीं, वो ग्रैंड मदर का हमारा बना मिठाई है, वो खा के तभी वो स्कूल जाएगा, नहीं तो स्कूल नहीं जाएगा. So we spoil them, and then without the mithai also he starts crying. Is he not slave to mithai? We have brought them up like this, and they become slave to the objective. उनको थोड़ा थोड़ा सिखाना चाहिए कि सब कुछ जो कुछ चाहिए उनको देना नहीं चाहिए. In some of the schools we have found, not now, in our time also, in some schools where very rich children are there, they buy something from the canteen, they used to give 100 rupee notes. One friend, I said that don't put your daughter there, she will get spoiled. long back when we were in IIT, I think, or in Calcutta. So we spoil them, giving them indulgence, making them more and more slave to the surroundings, slave to the situations. So tapaha makes us master of the surroundings. That anything, suppose you fast, even for a day in a week, that fasting will give you atmavala, will give you self-power, self-will. That yes, without food also I can go. Make it a longer fast. Without water also you can make it. So the tapas will always generate the Atma Shakti. Not only that, ultimately the last parinama of tapas is bhava samshuddhi. So I will go back to the 17th chapter where this is discussed, the three kinds of tapas. And these three kinds also again divided as sattva, rajas, tamas. But these three kinds, that sharirika tapas, vachika tapas and manasika tapas. That is bodily tapas, speech, tapas done with the speech and tapas done with the mind. This portion we should read because they are very important as our sadhana. This is 17th chapter, 14th verse onward. 17th chapter, 14th. You chant following me so that it remain in your memorial. Devadvija Guru Prajna
Devadvija Guru Prajna
Pujanam Shauchamarjavam
Pujanam Shauchamarjavam
Brahmacharya Mahimsa Cha
Brahmacharya Mahimsa Cha
Shariram Tapa Uchyate
Shariram Tapa Uchyate
Devadvija Guru Prajna
Devadvija Guru Prajna
Pujanam Shauchamarjavam
Pujanam Shauchamarjavam
Brahmacharya Mahimsa Cha
Brahmacharya Mahimsa Cha
Shariram Tapa Uchyate.
Shariram Tapa Uchyate.
So they have defined what are the bodily tapas. Tapas in English it is austerity. That whatever there is a tendency to do, if you hold from there, it becomes tapas because you are not allowing your senses and other things to just to follow the natural, tendencies, to withhold from there. So here he is saying Devadvija Guru Prajna Pujanam. That is worshipping God or gods and goddesses, Deva. That means having the humility or the faith that everything is not depending on me. Why do we do the Deva Puja? We do out of desire and all, but if you think about it in a good puja, because we are humble enough to accept that I am not the master of my life. There is Daivam Chatra Panchamam. There is some fifth factor which is controlling things without which we cannot do anything. Providential factor. So for that we do Deva Puja. Dvija means those who are second. Dvija means double bond, second bond. That means those who have got the Gayatri. They are called Dvijas. Don't think only Brahmanas. In our country, all were given the Upanayanam, twice born. Because first birth is the bodily birth. But then when you take the Gayatri mantra, it becomes the second birth for you. Because the Gayatri mantra is very powerful and you have to depend on that power, on that spiritual power of the mantra. It is finally reminding us of the power of our soul. The Surya there is actually our soul. So the Gayatri mantra reminds us of the power of our soul. Such people are called Dvija. So generally, if the people are Dvija, we are supposed to have respect for them because they are supposed to know subtle things better. If they don't know, they are not considered Dvija, but actually they were supposed to. Guru, the Guru you know. Prajna, those who are wise people. They may not be Guru, but there are people who are wise. They also need to be worshipped because of their wisdom. So anything which is great to do worship for them is a shariram tapah. Why are they calling it a physical worship? Because to do any worship, you have to sacrifice your other engagements, various other things. Say, in Guru worship, what is Guru worship? You can do the puja only, that Pada puja and all, that is only formal puja. But to do the real seva for Guru, you have to sacrifice your sleep, you have to sacrifice your likes and dislikes, many things you have to sacrifice. Physically also, suppose you are wanting to go for rest. That is the time the Guru needs something. You have to forego the rest and go and help. So there is lot of physical sacrifice involved. Even if ordinary puja also, you have to leave some of the regular engagements, physical engagements to attend to the puja. Morning you have to take bath before puja. So if you are idle, you don't want to take bath, you cannot do the puja. So you will be forced to take bath in the morning. That is a sharira tapa. That's a physical austerity. Without taking bath, you will not be allowed to cook. The prasada also, prepare the prasada. So you will automatically take bath. So many things are there which are necessary for the worship, which means the physical austerity. Shaucham, Arjavam. Shaucham means Shuchitva. This is all like taking bath in the morning, and it starts with that. That Shuchitva can be taken to any level. Final Shuchitva is not physical. Final Shuchitva is not having any Bheda Buddhi. The Atma is called Shuchi. Atma, our soul or the consciousness, is called the real Shuchi. Because there is no Bheda in Atma. Everything, everywhere, it is Atma alone. There is no fragmentation, division, color, difference, nothing is there. So it is such an unification, that is the ultimate of Shuchi. So really Shuchitvam means actually to get away from the differential feelings in our mind. So the mind becomes pure. Abheda darshanam jnanam. The real jnana is abheda darshanam. That bheda buddhi is stressing us. That stress goes when the bheda buddhi is not there. That doesn't mean that you will not see the differences. But we are getting affected, attracted and repelled by seeing the differences. If that attraction and repulsion, the raga dvesha is taken out, then any amount of Vaichitra, the infinite variety you see, it will not create any bheda buddhi in you, the stress in your mind. So, here Shuchitvam is described in the Shariram Tapaha, the physical austerity, because you have to take bath in the morning. The moment the food is given, you are hungry. Oh, gop, 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 gop. You are not supposed to take that. Shuchitva means you sit till the service is done, then you pour some water, think of Brahman, Brahma, Arpanam, Brahma, Havi, that everything is that. All that, by that time your mind will become peaceful, and then you start taking the food. So you are restrained from following the bodily need immediately. The body wants the food, and without washing hand also people start taking food. So Shuchitva means you have to wash your hand and also chant the mantras before taking, be peaceful. When all are served, suppose you have been served, the others are yet to be served, you start taking food. This is also against Shuchitvam. So these are all physical austerity also.